Welcome back to Old School New School Podcast, episode 67?
67,
67.
Yes. I'm Scott and I'm old school.
I'm Chester and I'm New School.
We're going to talk about the pitfalls for each team in the playoffs. And for this episode, we're doing AFC.
Yeah, we're doing AFC.
Let me start it off. We're going to start it from seed 7 to seed 1. I'm going to tell you about the trouble with the Denver Broncos, and that is they have trouble. Their offense has trouble staying on the field.
Okay.
Lots of 3-and-outs.
Yeah.
Rookie quarterback.
Yeah.
Lots of 3-and-outs. That gets your defense tired.
Yeah.
So that's their big concern. And when you're playing against, this is playoffs now. Things are going to be a lot tougher. So
yes.
That's the trouble they're going to have.
Yeah.
Next.
So we are going to talk next is the Steelers, the 6th seed. And
Stop looking at the screen.
the Steelers, and it's going to be the bad offensive scheme. I have a couple Steeler fans who are friends, and they talk about how bad the offense is and how bad they've been playing. So their scheme is kind of bad, and like you said with the Broncos, their offense is always going. You're going 3-and-out. Your defense gets really tired, and then your defense falls apart. Then the whole thing becomes a mess. So that's downfall for the Steelers.
Yeah, they've not looked good in the last 4 games,
Nope.
and you don't want to go into the playoffs like that. So yes, okay. So Steelers, another offensive issue. Let's stay with that with the Chargers. Chargers have been having a little trouble in the second half of games.
Yeah.
Teams are making adjustments, and they're scoring on average just a little over 10 points in the second half.
Not very good.
That's trouble.
Yeah.
Because, you can put up some points, but you gotta score. You gotta score. And it's gonna be tough sledding. So
yeah.
I don't have much else to say than that. But Harbaugh's got to make some adjustments for the second half. Maybe he's trying to script the first series, but something's got to happen.
Yeah.
Okay. Next is the Texans.
Yeah. I think the Texans have another reason as well. But the main reason is definitely their run game. Joe Mixon has slowed down since he had a very fast start to the season, but he has regressed very much. Mm-hmm. And C.J. Stroud, in my opinion, is having a little bit of a sophomore slump. Now, granted, their offensive line is very terrible. A lot of injuries on the offensive line. But, no run game.
That could be the reason for all of this.
Yes.
Like C.J.'s struggling.
He's throwing the ball 40 times a game because they can't establish the run.
The run game not doing well. Okay, yeah, and
so
you need a run game in the playoffs. You need the run game.
Yeah.
That's about it for the Texans?
Yeah, I think that's it for the Texans.
All right, well,
Yeah.
Next is the Ravens.
Okay.
And much like last year, they're a pretty popular pick to go to the Super Bowl right now.
Yeah.
And what happened last year?
I mean, they lost. I mean, they lost to a good Kansas City Chiefs team. They
won the Super Bowl, so they had to be good. But it's the biggest concern with the Ravens is going into that shell in a big, you're on the stage playoff game.
Yeah.
Like they got to the championship game last year, but they just, if you remember that game,
Yeah, I know.
they looked like a completely different team.
Yeah.
So if you play Ravens, you got to play like you've been playing before. You've been playing really loose, really confident. And this is you're gonna run up against the Bills, and most likely the Chiefs.
Yeah, one of the two.
Maybe both.
Mm.
You never know.
I see.
Anyway.
Yeah. So
that's the Ravens win the big games.
Yeah.
It's time.
Okay, next we will going on to the Bills. So I haven't watched a ton of Bills games, but according to the NFL a little bit, the defense is not amazing and they're relying on turnovers to really flip the game. Which, I mean, you can say that turnovers are very important, but having a pretty good defense is also very important. So if your defense is not very good, relying on those turnovers to make them look better, it's not very good.
And we saw that when they played the Rams.
Right.
Shootout, and the defense couldn't get
50
turnovers,
points,
and they lost. So like, you have to have a solid defense, right?
Right. I would agree with that.
Right. Okay, and the number 1 seed in the AFC is the Kansas City Chiefs, and they're 15-2, right?
Yeah.
Because they kind of
Doesn't count.
didn't, yeah. But and this has been their issue all year long. The defense has bailed out the offense.
Right.
The Chiefs' offense is mediocre.
Yeah.
There's no other way to say it. The defense has won these games. And I worry, if I were a Chiefs fan, I would be worried about that aspect, that your offense isn't putting up the numbers it should be putting up. And I don't know what the issues are there. Like Kelsey hasn't looked great, but maybe he'll turn it on. And
yeah, maybe.
All I'm saying is, if you're playing the Chiefs, you better be up 9 with 2 minutes to go in the game.
Yeah, I don't know. Somehow Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid make it look easy when coming back.
But tell me, right?
But they'll look awful for 95% of the game, and then it'll be the last drive, and they'll win. Because their defense is so good that it'll just keep them in the game.
And you don't want to go to overtime with them because they're going to win the toss, and you're going to be tired on defense, and they're going to go score a touchdown.
Yeah, although the playoff overtime's different where both teams get a chance.
Right. Anyway, Chiefs offense mediocre.
Yeah.
Okay, that's it for the AFC.
Yeah.
These are the things that are going to trip up the teams.
Yeah.
If you can get past these things, you will move on.
Probably.
All right.
Maybe not.
That's it, right?
Yeah.
Peace.
Peace.